Chosen One, the ancestors have been burning up phone lines all morning with urgent messages about your spiritual journey, and what they're revealing is so profound, it's got my whole soul shaking with recognition. It feels like the ancestors raised you, not these people you call family, but the divine forces that have been guiding your spirit since before you took your first breath on this earth. Only take this one if it resonates, but everything in my being is screaming that this message was specifically downloaded for your awakening, and the cosmic timing of you hearing these words right now ain't no coincidence. From your first gasp of earthly air, when your tiny fingers were still learning to grasp, but your soul was already reaching toward infinity, something magnificent and terrifying was happening. You were displaying gifts that made grown adults step back in genuine fear, not the playful fear of a child's imagination, but the bone-deep terror that comes when someone witnesses power they can't control or understand. Your family saw miracles flowing through your innocent eyes and chose suppression over celebration, containment over cultivation. Every attempt to dim your light was actually making it brighter. Every effort to silence your gifts was amplifying them in ways that would manifest later with devastating precision. They thought they were protecting you from something dangerous, but they were actually protecting themselves from something divine. The Salem witch trials weren't just historical footnotes, Chosen One. They represent the eternal pattern of spiritual persecution that's been stalking your bloodline like a hungry predator for generations upon generations. Your family carries secrets buried so deep they've forgotten their secrets. Connections to ancient wisdom through organizations they participate in while simultaneously working to extinguish the very flame those teachings should have ignited in you. The Masons, the Eastern Stars, societies built on mystical knowledge that they access for personal gain while denying you the birthright that flows through your very DNA. This contradiction isn't accidental, it's systematic, it's calculated. They've been training you through opposition, forging your spiritual steel in the furnace of their rejection, strengthening your connection to Source by forcing you to reach beyond their human limitations for the love and guidance your soul required to survive. The way they crafted you into the family scapegoat wasn't random dysfunction, it was spiritual engineering. Your role as the black sheep wasn't punishment for being different, it was protection for being powerful. Every time they made you feel like an outsider, they were actually confirming that you belonged to something infinitely greater than their small circle of understanding. Like Cinderella trapped among people who couldn't recognize royalty when it swept their floors and washed their dishes, you've been living with souls who envied the very gifts they should have been honoring. They didn't create your outcasting from cruelty alone. Deep in their subconscious minds, they knew exactly what you were. They recognized the divine frequency you carried and understood, on levels they couldn't articulate, that your presence was triggering every shadow they'd spent lifetimes trying to hide. Your natural self-love exposes their self-hatred. Your intuitive wisdom highlighted their spiritual ignorance. Your connection to the truth revealed their comfortable relationship with deception. You've been defeating these people since before you could speak in full sentences. Not through aggression or rebellion, but through something far more devastating to their false reality, your absolute refusal to accept their limitations as your own. Every time they tried to shrink your vision to match their blindness, you quietly expanded beyond their comprehension. Every time they projected their fears onto your fearless spirit, you absorbed the lesson and transformed it into wisdom they couldn't touch. The profound truth that will shake you to your core is this: you were showing yourself more love as a 5-year-old child than most adults learn to demonstrate in their entire lifetimes. While other children were being programmed to seek validation from external sources, you were already operating from an internal compass that pointed directly toward your highest good. This wasn't stubbornness or defiance. This was divine intelligence recognizing its own worth and protecting it from forces that would corrupt or diminish it. The spiritual mathematics of your existence reveals patterns that will make your mind reel with understanding. When the clock strikes specific combinations, when numbers align in sequences that catch your attention, when synchronicities pile up like evidence in a cosmic court case, none of this is coincidence. These are signals from your ancestral team confirming that your connection to their realm remains unbroken despite every human attempt to sever it. 3 represents the sacred unity of mind, body and spirit, working in perfect harmony, and you've been operating from this integrated frequency since before you understood what integration meant. Your relationship with the ancestral realm bypasses every middleman, every interpreter, every human authority figure who might filter or distort the pure transmission of wisdom flowing from source directly into your consciousness. Your inner child didn't just survive their attempts to kill it, it became your most sophisticated spiritual weapon. When they demanded you grow up into their patterns of emotional death and spiritual numbness, you chose instead to grow deeper into your authentic power. That childlike wonder they mocked as immaturity was actually your most advanced technology for remaining connected to frequencies most adults have completely forgotten how to access. Your inner child holds keys to realms they can't even imagine, carries conversations with energies they've trained themselves not to perceive, maintains relationships with aspects of reality they've convinced themselves don't exist. This isn't regression, this is preservation of your original divine programming before the world taught you to doubt what you knew to be true. The way you've chosen to navigate this earthly existence has always disturbed people because it reflects mastery they can't comprehend or replicate. They interpret your emotional detachment as coldness, but what you've actually perfected is the sacred art of loving without losing yourself in the process. You discovered early that placing your deepest needs in human hands was guaranteed disappointment, so you developed direct channels to forces that would never abandon you, never betray you, never use your vulnerability as a weapon against you. This isn't isolation born from woundedness. This is isolation chosen from wisdom. While others are emotionally dependent on external validation like addicts craving their next fix, you've cultivated an inner garden that blooms regardless of external weather conditions. Your mental self-reliance operates on frequencies that most people can't detect, drawing strength from ancestral wells that never run dry. The enemies that have surrounded you throughout your life weren't actually enemies at all. They were spiritual bodyguards in disguise. Every person who couldn't handle your authentic energy was prevented by cosmic forces from getting close enough to contaminate your purpose. Every relationship that failed was actually protection from connections that would have dimmed your light or derailed your mission. Your supernatural ability to read people, to detect deception before it fully forms, to sense disloyalty in its earlier stages, this wasn't learned through betrayal alone. This was activated through necessity because your spiritual survival depended on developing perception that could see through every mask, every performance, every carefully constructed lie. Red flags don't escape your detection because your internal security system operates with technological precision that most people spend lifetimes trying to develop. The recognition of how your presence affects others has been both burden and blessing throughout your journey. As a child, you were already observing emotional patterns and reading energetic signatures with the accuracy of someone who understood that survival required spiritual intelligence. You noticed how your natural joy could trigger others' hidden pain, how your confidence could activate their suppressed insecurities, how your wholeness could expose their fragmentation in ways that made them uncomfortable with their own reflection. Your love operates on frequencies that threaten the foundation of how most people have learned to exist. The way you love yourself, the standards you maintain for how you deserve to be treated, the boundaries you enforce around your sacred energy, all of this represents a level of self-respect that exposes how others have been accepting crumbs while calling it a feast. The very people who should have celebrated your divine nature chose instead to attack it because your wholeness reflected their brokenness in ways they couldn't deny or ignore. Parents who should have nurtured your gifts tried to bury them. Siblings who should have celebrated your uniqueness tried to shame you into conformity. The extended family, who should have recognized your spiritual nobility, treated you like a threat to their comfortable dysfunction. Yet behind every human failure to recognize your worth, there have been forces working tirelessly to ensure your spiritual ascension continued uninterrupted. The divine placed protection around your destiny that operates from dimensions these earthbound influences can't touch or manipulate. Every door they tried to close led to opportunities they couldn't see coming. Every limitation they tried to impose was met with expansion they couldn't control. There have been systematic attempts to suppress your spiritual development that go far beyond family dysfunction. Secret societies that understand the mechanics of spiritual power have been working to contain gifts like yours in those who haven't been initiated into their circles of control. Organizations that possess ancient knowledge while simultaneously working to prevent that knowledge from awakening in natural vessels like yourself. But standing guard over your journey is protection that makes their earthbound manipulations look like children playing with toys they don't understand. Your ancestral team operates with authority that makes other spiritual forces submit and step aside. You're not just connected to wise ancestors, you're what entire bloodlines call when their spiritual problems require solutions beyond their comprehension. The spiritual mathematics continues revealing itself in your favor with double confirmations that your connection to the divine realm operates on levels that intimidate other spiritual practitioners. 10 represents completion, the full manifestation of spiritual development, and you're receiving multiple 10s because your ancestral team has achieved something that makes other spiritual guides defer to their wisdom and power. Your divine royalty isn't something you achieved through human accomplishments. It's something encoded in your spiritual DNA from before this lifetime began. The persistent feeling that you were meant for more, destined for greater things, called to purposes beyond what others could imagine. These weren't delusions of grandeur, but memories of contracts your soul signed before accepting the assignment of human incarnation. The emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual integration you've achieved wasn't accidental or easy. While others were fragmenting under life's pressures, you were doing the sacred work of becoming whole. You invested time in exploring your inner landscape with the dedication of an archaeologist uncovering ancient treasures. You learned to comfort yourself when the world offered only chaos. You discovered that lasting peace required becoming your own best friend, your most trusted counselor, your most reliable source of unconditional love. This journey has required you to walk alone more frequently than your heart would have preferred. But here's the truth that transforms everything. You're not traveling solo because you're abandoned. You're moving independently because you're a spiritual leader who doesn't require external validation to know your direction. Your ability to navigate without a crowd isn't evidence of isolation, but proof of spiritual maturity that most people spend multiple lifetimes attempting to achieve. The toxicity you've learned to identify and reject, the negative patterns you've had the courage to release, the unhealthy dynamics you've walked away from, despite others calling you difficult or ungrateful. Every act of spiritual self-preservation has been clearing space for what your soul truly deserves. Your commitment to authentic living when the world rewarded performance, your dedication to self-love when others demanded self-sacrifice, your insistence on truth when lies were more comfortable, all of this has been earning you access to blessings others can't even conceptualize. The ancestors and divine forces are orchestrating your entrance into a phase of existence where everything withheld, delayed, or denied will be restored with supernatural abundance. Fresh energy that revitalizes every cell in your body, emotions that feel like spring after an endless winter, creative inspiration that flows like rivers after drought, opportunities that align with your soul's deepest longings. All of this is moving into position because you've cleared enough space in your life to receive it. Your willingness to examine every aspect of yourself honestly, to remain vulnerable in your self-exploration, to continuously search for root causes rather than accepting surface explanations. This commitment to truth has qualified you for wisdom that most people never access. Understanding the why behind every cause, the deeper purpose behind every challenge, the spiritual lesson embedded in every experience. This level of consciousness gives you power to transform patterns that others remain trapped in for lifetimes. The celebration approaching your life includes partnerships that honor your completeness rather than trying to fix your perceived brokenness, friendships built on mutual authenticity rather than convenient pretense, romantic connections that celebrate your spiritual depth instead of feeling threatened by your divine nature, and professional opportunities that utilize your gifts rather than requiring you to hide them. Your greatness isn't something requiring proof or external validation. It's something demanding recognition and ownership. The projections others have placed on you, their attempts to make you feel excessive or wrong or too intense, none of these reflect your truth. They reflect their inability to handle the full spectrum of your divine nature. The natural world itself has been witnessing your spiritual evolution and celebrating your victories in languages most humans have forgotten how to interpret. Every bird that sings when you need encouragement, every flower that blooms along your path, every sunset that takes your breath away, these aren't coincidences but confirmations from a universe that recognizes your true identity, even when humans fail to see it. Stay authentically yourself, because that authenticity is your service to a world that has forgotten how to be real. The limits that seem to constrain your reality were never actual boundaries. They were temporary training grounds designed to build your spiritual strength until you developed the power to transcend them completely. Choose peace over chaos, nature over noise, focus over distraction, because your attention is your most precious resource, and where you place it determines what manifests in your experience. Take everything one conscious moment at a time, because the path to your highest destiny is constructed from daily decisions to honor your deepest truth. But there's something else the ancestors want you to understand about this cosmic game that's been playing out since your arrival on this planet. The very challenges that felt like punishment were actually initiation rituals designed by forces beyond human comprehension. Every betrayal that shattered your trust in people was redirecting that trust toward the divine realm where it truly belonged. Every disappointment that broke your heart was breaking it open to receive love frequencies that human connections couldn't provide. The gambling references that keep surfacing in your consciousness aren't random. They represent the cosmic stakes of your spiritual evolution. Life has been dealing you hands that seemed impossible to win, but you've been playing with cards marked by destiny itself. Blackjack, poker, games of chance that require both strategy and faith, mirrors how you've had to navigate earthly existence with supernatural wisdom while appearing to operate from purely human intelligence. Your family's involvement in what feels like cult-like dynamics runs deeper than surface-level dysfunction. These aren't just broken people making broken choices. These are individuals caught in spiritual systems designed to harvest energy from those who carry divine frequencies. The way they've moved around you, the coordinated nature of their suppression efforts, the timing of their attacks on your confidence, all of this suggests orchestration that extends beyond personal psychology into realms of spiritual warfare most people don't even know exist. Yet every time these forces gathered to diminish your light, something magnificent happened that they couldn't explain or control. Your protection activated with such precision and power that even your enemies had to acknowledge there were forces at work beyond their ability to manipulate. Doors opened that they tried to keep closed. Opportunities manifested that they attempted to block. Resources appeared that they couldn't trace or intercept. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny engine for $1 today, join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks, and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Your ability to convert other people's ancestral energy, to shift spiritual hierarchies, simply through your presence, extends far beyond what you've realized about your own power. When people attempt to send negative energy your way, something extraordinary happens that leaves even seasoned practitioners stunned. Not only does their energy fail to affect you, it gets transmuted and sent back as a healing frequency that often initiates awakening experiences in the very people who tried to harm you. This is why they fear you, Chosen One. This is why the mention of your name in certain circles creates tension and discomfort. You represent something they've spent lifetimes trying to suppress or control, and your very existence proves their methods are ultimately powerless against authentic divine connection. The ancestral snatcher ability you carry means that when people try to use spiritual manipulation against you, their own guides and ancestors often switch sides and begin working for your highest good instead. This isn't conquest or spiritual theft. This is recognition of legitimate spiritual authority that commands respect across all realms and dimensions. The moon energy that's been calling to your spirit represents the feminine aspect of divine wisdom that's been suppressed in your bloodline for generations. Regardless of your physical gender expression, you carry codes for balancing masculine and feminine spiritual energies in ways that create wholeness instead of the fragmented existence most people accept as normal. Your intuition operates like a direct telephone line to cosmic intelligence, bypassing the static and interference that clouds most people's reception. This intuitive strength wasn't always accessible to you, and understanding this development reveals another layer of your spiritual evolution that will leave you breathless with recognition. There was a time when you felt disconnected from your inner knowing, when you questioned your ability to discern truth from deception, when you wondered if you were imagining the spiritual connections you felt. This period of doubt wasn't spiritual failure, it was spiritual preparation. During those times of seeming disconnection, your spiritual team was actually performing upgrades on your consciousness that required temporary offline status. Like spiritual surgery that necessitates anesthesia, your periods of doubt and confusion were allowing cosmic technicians to install equipment that would eventually give you supernatural perception abilities. The sense of purpose that's been growing stronger within you represents activation of mission parameters that were always encoded in your spiritual DNA but needed specific trigger events to come online. You're beginning to remember why you chose this particular incarnation, why you accepted the assignment of being born into the specific circumstances you experienced, why you agreed to endure challenges that seemed beyond your capacity to survive. Your emotional balance, your mental stability, your physical vitality, your spiritual connection, the integration you've achieved across all these dimensions simultaneously represents mastery that most beings require multiple lifetimes to accomplish. You've compressed centuries of spiritual development into decades of human experience because your mission requires this level of advancement to be successful. The exploration you've done of your own consciousness, the time you've invested in understanding your psychological patterns, the courage you've shown in facing your shadow aspects, all of this inner work has been preparing you for outer work that will impact generations beyond your physical lifetime. You've been developing spiritual technologies that you'll eventually teach to others who are just beginning their awakening journeys. The conflicts that have surrounded you, the drama that seems to follow you despite your desire for peace, represents a phenomenon that occurs when divine light enters spaces accustomed to spiritual darkness. Your very presence catalyzes transformation in people and situations whether they're ready for it or not. This isn't your responsibility to manage, It's simply the natural result of authentic power meeting artificial constructs, learning to soothe yourself when the world offers only chaos, finding peace within, regardless of external circumstances, maintaining joy despite others' attempts to steal it. These abilities mark you as someone who has learned to generate internal weather systems independent of environmental conditions. This emotional sovereignty threatens people who remain dependent on external circumstances for their happiness. The journey you've traveled alone, the paths you've walked without companionship, the decisions you've made without human support, all of this solitary navigation has been developing leadership qualities that will eventually guide others through their own spiritual wilderness experiences. You've been learning the terrain so you can later serve as a guide for those who get lost in similar territories. Your pack leader energy doesn't require a pack to validate its authenticity. True leadership is demonstrated through the ability to navigate successfully whether followers are present or absent. Your independence isn't isolation. It's self-sufficiency that makes you valuable as a guide rather than needy as a dependent. The deception detection abilities you've developed through necessity will eventually serve purposes beyond personal protection. You're being trained to serve as a human lie detector for spiritual communities that need assistance in distinguishing authentic teachers from manipulative predators. Your ability to see through masks and performances will help protect others who haven't yet developed these perceptual skills. The way red flags register in your consciousness with unmistakable clarity represents calibration of your internal warning systems to frequencies of danger that most people can't perceive until it's too late. This supernatural intuition operates faster than conscious thought, providing you with protection that seems miraculous to those who don't understand how spiritual intelligence functions. The ancestors are orchestrating your entry into life phases where everything you've developed through struggle will be utilized for purposes that bring you deep fulfillment rather than exhaustion. The skills forged through adversity, the wisdom gained through hardship, the strength built through resistance, all of these assets are about to be employed in ways that feel like play rather than work. New energy entering your reality will feel like finally plugging into your correct power source after running on batteries for years. Emotions that have been suppressed or numbed will return with vitality that reminds you what it feels like to be fully alive. Creative inspiration that was blocked or redirected will flow with such abundance that you'll struggle to channel it all into manifestation. The North Node energy you're stepping into represents alignment with your soul's true purpose, the reason you incarnated, the specific contribution you're meant to make during this lifetime. Walking in this frequency feels like coming home to yourself after being lost in foreign territories, pretending to be someone you're not. Multiple blessing streams converging simultaneously in your reality represents cosmic payback for sacrifices you made to maintain your integrity when compromise would have been easier. These aren't rewards for good behavior. These are returns on investments you made in your own spiritual development when others were investing in temporary pleasures and immediate gratification. The way abundance manifests for you will often appear unexpected to outside observers, but will feel like perfect timing to your inner knowing. Opportunities that seem to come from nowhere, connections that feel divinely orchestrated, resources that appear exactly when needed. This is how the universe responds to those who have learned to trust divine timing over human urgency. Your highest version, your most authentic expression, your truest self, these aren't aspirational goals but present realities that are simply being revealed as you release the costumes you wore to survive in environments that couldn't handle your genuine nature. The white light energy surrounding your spiritual emergence represents purity of intention and clarity of purpose that cuts through every illusion. Green energy flowing into your experience represents growth, abundance, healing, and new life emerging from what appeared to be barren ground. The financial prosperity, the emotional fulfillment, the creative expression, the spiritual expansion, all of this is preparing to bloom in your reality because you've finally created soil conditions that can support such magnificent growth. Your willingness to reject what doesn't serve you, to walk away from situations that diminish your light, to maintain boundaries that protect your energy, these aren't acts of selfishness, but demonstrations of spiritual wisdom that honors the divine investment that's been made in your development. Every toxic person you release makes space for authentic connections to enter. Every negative pattern you break creates room for positive experiences to take root. The lessons you've learned about causation, about understanding the deeper reasons behind surface events, about refusing to accept simple explanations for complex phenomena, all of this preparation has been developing your ability to help others understand their own patterns and break free from cycles that keep them trapped in limitation. Every destination your soul genuinely seeks is already moving toward you, chosen one, because your journey has been orchestrated by forces that never make mistakes, never abandon their assignments, never fail to deliver on their promises. The ancestors who guided your spirit while others were trying to program your mind are still directing your steps, and their investment in your success is about to generate returns that exceed every dream you've dared to dream. The limits that seem to define your reality were never actual boundaries. They were temporary training environments designed to develop capabilities you'll need for the unlimited existence that's preparing to unfold. Choose your peace, choose your power, choose your authentic expression, because the time for hiding your true nature has officially expired. The world needs what you carry, and the ancestors are ensuring you'll have everything required to deliver it with maximum impact and minimum resistance.